I would have definitely regretted if I did not watch this movie. Let me explain. Guys, I loved it. Overall, I think it was told masterfully. It reminded me of Kapoor and Sons, and I didn't know it was from the same director. And his hallmark, his signature is there everywhere. And I'm a big fan of it, right? I think he focuses on character. I think the characters feel real. I think he's a director that's able to get solid convincing performances from his actors, and that's not easy to do. Of course, for me, Kapoor and Sons is right on top, and then perhaps this below that if I were to compare the two movies. But I think he's done a great job. Again, I'd love to see more from him. From the very first couple of shots, it didn't feel like your everyday average Bollywood movie at all. Just the way it's cut, the direction, the screenplay. I loved how they did not linger too long on any scenes, right? Every scene was quick to transition. At the same time, it wasn't a montage, right? We've seen, like I said, critical places where the characters should have been built up. They show it as a quick montage, but it actually backfires when it comes to connecting the audience with the characters. Here, I think this director has a brilliant balance of not to linger too much, but to go on to the next scene. The camera work was intimate. I loved the way it just cuts back and forth, and the placement of the camera. It adds to the intensity, to the drama as well. The color palette as well, it wasn't too bright and colorful. It had an international feel. The use of music, I think, was absolutely apt. It was silent when it had to be. It was dramatic when it had to be. But at the end of it, I never found it overpowering what's already there on screen. The script, the performances took the center stage, and the background score remained in the background, and that in itself, I think, scores points in my book. There's a lot said about the performances. I think overall it was really well done. Starting with Deepika Padukone, I think, whenever she expressed her fear, the torment that she has from her past, a lot of those things are really believable, and I think she chooses roles with complex emote that. But there were some aspects or some places where she had to show some sort of nuance, but I found her smiling or hiding a smirk or trying not to smile when the dialogue was a little bit more serious or intense. And I found that to be a little odd in places. And I also found it a little interesting that the camera cuts away from her when she speaks often, and it focuses on the person listening to her. And I found that more so with Deepika and someone else. When Deepika's not there, the camera is mostly focusing on the person who is speaking. I don't know if it's because the director also felt her expression at that moment did not really match. Apart from that small gripe that I have, overall, I think she did a pretty good job. I think she was convincing. Ananya really blew me away. The first half of the movie, I heard she's just playing herself. But towards the end, I think she was really able to show her actor's chop, and she was able to show a range of emotions. Once again, extremely convincing. I would even say Ananya did a better job here than Deepika, although Deepika had a lot more screen time. The guy who plays the role, Karan, he was the only one that was somewhat sidelined. There's not much for him to do. There wasn't any kind of backstory or layers to him, and I wish, yes, the movie did spend a little bit more time getting us connected to him as well. Coming to Siddanth, I know there's a lot said online about his acting. Some people said, they expected more. He had a streak of immaturity. He had a streak of, yes, being closed off. I questioned whether I trust him. All of that because, again, he didn't really open the audience into who he is. And I think that is apt for that role. For me, I don't really find any issue with Siddanth's acting. There was nothing that he did that took me out of it. I found it, pretty convincing that he's even, some sort of hotshot businessman with real estate. Even when he spoke a little bit of those conversations with regard to real estate, I found it fairly convincing. He didn't look like he just learned those lines and he's spouting about it. So that was good for me. But his chemistry with Deepika, for whatever reason, is a hit and miss. I didn't fully buy it. I think it's because a lot of it started instantly, the chemistry between them. And that's probably because the director wants to show that, that relationship maybe started more to do with lust, perhaps, at least for one of them. And maybe that part is intentional too. But overall, the chemistry, I did not necessarily buy into it, but it wasn't a huge distraction either, because there was a lot more to the story than just Deepika and his chemistry. Coming to the story, at the end of the day, I think it's a deep story that has layers. It's not about pretty people and expensive things. I think there's more to it. I saw some criticism online where they said the set looks too designed and expensive. Yes, but it added to the narrative, right? If it's about, let's say, wealthy people, it is showing that because they're going to have problems that relate to that world of wealth, whether they're rich, whether they're middle class, all of it plays to the narrative, and it has an intentional role. And it's not to just keep the audience looking at bright and colorful things and distract because you don't have a story to tell. I judged this movie thinking that it's just another, Bollywood romance story. It's going to have some love triangle. Nah, not interested, but not really. It started on that surface level, and then it takes the audience deeper until you arrive at pretty powerful themes of breaking free from the past and mental health and perhaps even suicide. It has themes about starting fresh and the courage to start fresh, and the choice that you make, the inner strength you find to start fresh, to break free again from your past. I think those are really powerful. And it has a lot of themes and symbolisms about surface level beauty and what is true beneath it, right? People are not what they seem, whether that's for good or for bad. And I think the director at the end of the day achieves the most difficult thing, which is to tell a compelling story, to make the audience feel what he intends for us to feel. And that's not an easy feat. And trust me, I was, depressed with a lot of the recent movies I've reviewed. I felt like I probably need to lower my expectations. But no, this movie was a saving grace. I love this kind of storytelling and I encourage it. In my opinion, now that I've watched this movie, absolutely not. The actors were right. In many ways, I saw in some articles or interviews, they were really pleading with the audience to look beyond the surface, that it's not about glorifying infidelity. They couldn't share more details because that's going to be spoilers. So that's for you and I to watch. Having watched it, it actually shows real people making, yes, poor choices, dealing with the consequences, but then asking yourself, do you have the courage to make a better choice? To me, it was a conversation about the choices that real people make. Sometimes things are gray, things are not always black and white. What direction do you take? You might not know that even your choices can be influenced by your background. And for us as audience, it's for us to go well beyond the posters, well beyond the surface level, and really understand the layers of the story that the director is trying to tell through very real characters that don't always make the right choice, right? They make obscure choices, and they're us in many ways. And I think that's why it works. And I would definitely recommend this. I would give it a 4 out of 5. And so it's a thumbs up for me. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Until the next movie, if you have any recommendations, please let me know. But till next time, stay sane, stay safe.